Welcome to Women Winning Divorce. I am your host, Heather Quick. I am an attorney, entrepreneur, author, and founder of Florida Women's Law Group, the only divorce firm for women by women. I love thinking big, thinking outside the box, creating creative solutions for women, and empowering women to win in all aspects of their life. Our approach at Florida Women's Law Group is to provide women with a strategy to not only achieve their objectives, but win at life. I believe that what may show up as adversity is simply an opportunity to change and improve your life. In each episode, I sit down with innovative professionals and leaders who are focused on how you can be your best self before, during, and after divorce. In these conversations, we are looking at how women can win at life. I have the unique opportunity to meet women when they are at a transition period of life. But that is only the beginning to becoming your best self and winning at life on your terms. With our guests, we enjoy the opportunity to explore ways all women can win and enhance their life, no matter where they are in their journey. Because divorce is just a point in life, not the end and not what defines you, rather a catalyst for your growth. Are you facing the challenges of divorce and feeling overwhelmed? Introducing Divorce 101, your essential online course designed to empower you through the divorce process. I'm Heather Quick, attorney and CEO at Florida Women's Law Group. Gain confidence and clarity with expert guidance on legalities, financial considerations, and your emotional well-being. We believe in empowering you to navigate this journey with strength and knowledge. Enroll in Divorce 101 today and take control of your future. As a valued podcast listener, you will get $100 off the course. So please see the show notes for the promo code and the link. You can also find out more at floridawomensLawGroup.com or always call us at 904-567-0121. Divorce for women by women. Welcome to this week's episode of Women Winning Divorce. I'm Heather Quick, owner and attorney at Florida Women's Law Group. Today, I'm joined by Elizabeth Douglas. Elizabeth is the CEO and founder of Douglas Family Law Group, located in White Plains, New York. Welcome, Elizabeth.
Hi, Heather. Thank you. It's great to be here.
It is wonderful to have you here. I love having lawyers on the show, particularly from other states, because it's shocking the differences in the various states. And I think it's great discussion generally when we have different nuances based on what state we're in. Thank you again for having us. And I would love if you could tell us a little bit about how you got to where you are professionally.
It's cliche, but I've always wanted to be a lawyer. I mean, so many of us leave at that, right? But
Yes.
it actually is true. So after graduating from law school, the first 7.5 years of my career, I spent working in corporate law, doing product liability. I spent some time defending doctors, which was very interesting because I did want to be a doctor for some time. And when I got to undergrad and I took organic chem, I thought, you know what? I've always wanted to be a lawyer. I like medicine. Let's just go the law route, figure out how to get the medicine in there. Anyway, so I did that for some time, did a lot of jury trials, loved it, loved working with being in court, litigating essentially. But what I didn't love was that I wasn't able to make a personal connection with any of the clients. It's mostly keeping corporations rich, which no shame, it's got to be done, right? But I wanted to practice an area of law where I could use my trial skills, but also, most importantly, connect with the clients and feel like I was making some kind of difference. I'm not trying to be the poster child for lawyers who say, I'm going to change the world. I mean, that would be great, but I did want to work with people in a personal and meaningful way. And my practice philosophy really is that when you're going through divorce or family law challenge, it's an opportunity to pivot and pivot with grace. So myself and my team, we get to help people at a crossroads because unless you're a psycho, you don't get married and say, oh my God, I can't wait to get divorced, divide my assets and, jointly share custody of my children or not, or uproot them. But it does give you the opportunity to pivot and create your next steps. So when I was able, I started to shadow matrimonial lawyers. I took every single CLE you could think of. I just really enjoyed that. And one of my mentors who was amazing was a celebrity divorce lawyer, and he was very gracious in letting me shadow him. I had to eat some humble pie because I had tried dirt, but I knew everything, but this is a different practice area. And I learned a lot. I just liked it and then opened my own practice and said, okay, this is what we're going to do. We are going to actively help people to create the next steps of their lives so they can thrive. So here I am. And I've owned the practice now for 11 years and love it.
That is a great story because I do find most attorneys that I talk to in family law, there is some reason, right? It just pulls them and attracts to them in a way that other areas don't. And I think that's what makes them exceptional is because of that care and really focus on helping someone change their life. So I think that's great. Now, obviously, I mean, I kind of probably know the answer, but I want our listeners to know really what makes your practice different than other firms.
So many things. Well, we offer white glove service. And what that means is really going the extra distance with and for our clients. And we do cater to them. I think it is a lawyer's job, especially in this type of practice area where you're dealing with people's hearts, their children, their family, the idea of what they had the future to look like, the changes. They need a little extra TLC. So we definitely build our practice around caring for the client holistically with the mind, body, and soul connection to that. We are meticulous with detail, and it's important. Some people don't want to make that investment to tell their story in a way that is impactful, but we make sure that our clients get that and we turn out an excellent quality of work. There are practices that are volume practices, and that's okay for those practitioners if that's their business model. It's not ours. So that makes us different. We take a smaller number of cases that tend to be more complex and really ensure that the client are comfortable and getting our practice approach is tailored to them. So no family looks the same in our office. So basically, we are really speaking to the clients and letting them be the drivers in creating what their next chapter looks like. And we pride ourselves on that. So I think so those are some things that make us different.
And that is great. And as we get into our talk today, which I did not mention at the beginning, which is mind and body wellness in divorce, which is so important. And you and I think, are very aligned in that way. But I'd love to know a little bit about your design and purpose, even within your office, because I think that you really do start there as well for your clients.
Our office, I mean, it's a gorgeous space, but it's very purposely thought out. I very much enjoy interior design and architecture, and the office is not looking like your standard law office. I mean, when you watch old movies, you typically see floor-to-ceiling bookshelves filled with dusty books, and everything's dark and brown and tweed and plaid. That's not our office. We have open space concepts, open ceilings, black ceilings. We have lots of modern art everywhere, pictures that people resonate with. It's just a cool vibe. It's more of a Manhattan loft type of vibe as opposed to your law firm. But we also have lots of different areas, open areas, even our conference room, where the clients can kind of sit and reflect. There's windows all around, so you get the natural light in. It's important for energy. It's a very modern, trendy space that is comforting for like-minded client who really wants to create something. Because we all have opportunity in life, and it's what you do with it, right? So we really believe that in our office is progressive and it's forward-thinking, and that's how the majority of our clients are.
That is great. We are exactly your sentiment as far as the dark wood paneling and, bookshelves, which is frankly, I still see that in a lot of other firms now. And they just kind of go with that. That makes you look like a lawyer. And so ours is completely different, light, airy, and we have a salt wall as you walk in. That was really important to me. And so we had that installed, which obviously then just kind of hopefully, does provide health and a calming effect, because we both know going through a divorce or even thinking about getting divorced can be extremely stressful on our client.
Absolutely. Our office too is calming. We have music playing. We have lots of different beverages. Everything that we serve in terms of snacks are healthy but good. And we really want to be the ones that do not cause extra stress to the client's life. Our mantra always is throw it on us. Let us take care of all the legal stuff so you can focus on taking care of yourself so you can be the best parent or best litigant through divorce.
Yes. Now, what do you, as far as how do you handle the, emotional taxing, a family law, both for you and your team, right? We're talking about our clients and we're trying to, take on some of that. But then what do you have in place or how do you address that for you as a lawyer and your team?
I'll start with my team first. First, we have a very great collaborative effect. We work as a team in our office and we're open. We start our morning meetings every morning with talking about what we're grateful for. That started during COVID so that we could reshift our minds and realize that there's so many things to be grateful for. A lot of times that will calm down any of the anxiety, or you might, wake up and be having a bad day. When you focus on something positive, that changes things. Small shift right away. That's how we start a day before we go into talking about what tasks we have and what needs to get done and deadlines and whatnot. We all believe in healthy food, nutrition, going to the gym, or some type of physical exercise. You don't have to have a gym membership, but you should be moving your body. Everyone does that. The firm encourages that. We have a gym in our building, actually. On top of that, we very much have an open forum where we can discuss things as a team.
Yeah.
What were our wins? We celebrate our wins. We talk about our losses, how we might have been able to do differently. What might be pain points that we can work on collaboratively. So those open up for an emotionally healthy space. And it allows the team to be able to connect in a different way. I think a greater, more purposeful way than I felt when I worked at different firms in the past. In terms of our client, we are very much open about our practice philosophy. And yes, we play to win, but you have to take care of yourself. It's just like when you're in an airplane. When the oxygen mask comes down, they say, you put your mask on first, and then you help small children and the elderly. We tell our clients that all the time, and we always suggest that they have a therapist, not because they're crazy, but because they need a neutral third person who's professionally trained to help them navigate this new waters. Because even if they're the ones who wanted the change, it is different than when they said, I do. Because no one says I do with the hopes of it, blowing up in some sort. So we always encourage clients and advise them that having a trusted mental health provider is like having another member of your team for success. That person is non-biased, they're professional, they're not your friends and family who are going to tell you a lot of times what they think is best or what don't want to hurt your feelings, etc. Then the legal team, let us do our job. We're here to support you in that way and be your greatest advocate in that respect. Take care of yourself, be careful, be mindful about what you're eating, have enough time for you. It's such an easy thing to say because majority of them are busy, they're working, they have life changes, they have childcare obligations, but everyone can carve out 5 to 10 minutes for themselves in some fashion. It might look different, but if you got up a little bit earlier and you walked outside or you just journaled or whatever it is, everyone has a different thing that helps them. Having that space, that outlet for you goes such a long way. So we remind clients of that often. We check in, regularly with the clients, so they are always able to communicate with us. We don't want to give them any extra anxiety, so we let them know that, you are a priority. You don't have to worry about for being able to reach your lawyer, your legal team. If you can't speak to the lead attorney, you can definitely speak to a paralegal or legal assistant who will then make an appointment for you to speak to your lawyers. When you're talking to them. We have regular touch bases where the clients know at a minimum they will be speaking to someone on the team to just talk about what's going on in general, what happened, whether that's 15 minutes or an hour, whatever it needs to be. We also encourage our clients to really work on building their village too, because a lot of the times during a divorce, there are lots of changes. One of those changes might be that your co-parent is no longer in the house. So now they might have moved away. Maybe they're not helping you do carpool. Maybe they're not there for these different activities that the kids have. So build your village. Who are the friends? Who are the neighbors? Who are the other mothers or fathers who are in the community can help? We really help them to brainstorm and think about who else might be a resource. I think it's a lot of human nature to just want to handle everything on your own. And you can't, because in chaos or crisis, we all need to rely on someone. So we really help our clients to think proactively as opposed to reactively in all things. And then, we practice what we preach. We encourage health, wellness, mindfulness, gratitude. Everybody has something to be grateful for. As long as we're breathing, there's something to be grateful for. And I think that shift, someone said that to me about 20 years ago, and I took it tongue in cheek at first, and it's really resonated because it's true. We all have something to be grateful for, and it does shift when you really think about that. I think those are some of the things that not only make us different, but help the clients to create balance. Because a lot of the times when change happens, we all get out of balance, and then and when you're in that state of chaos, you can't really focus clearly on the end goal, which is what do you want to do now with the information you have? How would you like to see the next steps of your life play out? What does the end of the divorce look like? Because the lawyers and the judges will be gone. And then what? So that's how we like to build our strategy, with that in mind, with what will help them to thrive and how do they envision the next chapter.
And, that's so helpful that you do that, because I do think, and we represent women only, and, I see where they just want to take it all on, and and sometimes it can be new because there's going to be a change, obviously, in the family dynamic, and they can only maintain that for so long. And then have seen it where then when the stress gets overwhelming, your body starts to give out, right? And it just starts to take over, and, you're just not going to function as well. So it's, trying to help them put those things in place, I think, is very important. Also to maintain, because this is their new life, and it may look very different from what they've been in the past. A lot of it, most of it probably will be, I would hope, very positive, because, there was something that wasn't working and they've made that change, and now they have an opportunity, like you said, to, rewrite that and live differently. And I agree with you on the gratitude. That in journaling. And we've done a lot of episodes, I feel like, this year with just various different mental health professionals as well, with a lot of talk about, those types of practices really begin to change your brain chemistry and begin to create new neuro pathways, so that now you can start to look at things differently, think differently, and that can be more healthy, because it's not all about, what's not working for me, but what is working for me. And I think that's great.
Yeah.
What do you, oh, go ahead. I don't want to interrupt you.
I was just saying we're definitely aligned in those ways.
Now, what do you personally do to keep stress free?
Combination of things. I definitely work out. I find it to be great for not just physical effect, but the mental effect. It really is a good stress reliever. I like to travel. I like to cook. I go for walks. I journal myself. I read. I just find ways to just kind of disconnect sometimes and just
Mhm.
have a moment to really take it all in. For example, I like to be outside a lot. So I'll often find that even if it's a short walk in nature and just allow myself to smell the air, not have my cell phone and texting and walking, just kind of put it away, just kind of think, or
Mhm.
got an issue or I've got to get something done, to pick one thing to focus on in that small amount of time and just decompress a little bit. That helps me tremendously. I like to talk to my peers sometimes about challenges or opportunities that we might be facing in the practice. It helps to speak to like-minded people. The effect that we tell our clients, have a village. It takes a village. I guess on a larger scale, I love to travel. I like to cook. I like to entertain. Just being more than just a lawyer. I find so many lawyers get burnt out when we are only solely focusing on the work. And it's a reality now. I definitely work hard so that I can then play hard, but at the same time, in place. So finding balance is what helps me to be the best lawyer I can be, and then be the best partner, be the best family member, be all those things in my personal life.
I do think that's great. And that is something that, I began to practice early on and encourage my attorneys. And really, we share that with our clients as well, is that we do have to have boundaries, because it's really important, I believe, for your attorney to recharge. Because I know, for our clients, we both know, I mean, they're in it, and that's just difficult. But we take on the responsibility of helping getting them to a better place. And oftentimes that's, I think, where we see attorneys who can't maintain the practice anymore because they've taken it on so much without any boundaries or a way to reset and, get healthy, take some time away so that they can come back even better. And I do believe that to be very important, for certainly for my attorneys, but all of our team, to know when, hey, you need to take a little break, reset, so that you can come back as, fully the attorney, the team member that the clients need.
Absolutely.
Now, what about let's talk about stress management, because I think we both have dealt with it in many ways. And I'm wondering if you think it's, stress management is something you grow through or learn to balance. What's your opinion on that?
I think it's a combination. It definitely changes at different points of your life, different ages. And I think what you're going through, for example, just from a practice standpoint, There's stress management during trial. Your litigator trial is intense and chaotic, and there's stress management during regular running of practice, right? So
Mhm.
combination of things. So I guess the short answer is I think it evolves, but I think the underlying skills with recognizing that stress is real and that you need to do something for it, that doesn't change. You have to have that recognition.
Absolutely. And now, do you, for our clients, particularly, it was really interesting. I did a great interview not that long ago and on the podcast, and she talked about through her divorce, and now she's a fitness health coach, but she had to implement some things when she was like, going back to court, the modification that really allowed her to not only be present, but in her best self, right? And not completely emotional to where she was unable to get her point across or be understood, I think, by the court. And that's my paraphrasing. But she said she started, getting to court early and doing some just a 5-minute meditation, breathing before she went in. She recognized that these were things she needed to do. And it was a great interview, and I'm sure she had help throughout. But, what about for your clients? Are there anything that, particular things that you and your team really recommend to them to, really stay healthy and balancing that stress during their divorce?
Definitely having a healthy, balanced diet, checking in with themselves, paying attention to the signs. I mean, our body tells us so many things. And I myself am guilty of this, ignoring certain things. Oh, I just have a
Right.
little, not a big headache. You know,
Right.
don't let it get to that. But there's an attorney in my office, and we have a running joke about water. So I drink a lot of water, which means I have to pee a lot.
Yeah.
But this particular attorney was talking about, not drinking enough water and realizing how much better it felt when you are drinking more and how your body functions. So we just give little reminders. We send our clients care packages throughout the year, and they have some of our tips in them. I would also say we remind them to remember that to be your best self to anyone, you've got to be good to yourself too. So to give themselves grace. There's a lot of, we represent predominantly men. We do represent women also, but there's a lot of guilt that happens for the male side too. Sometimes the female side forgets that. And we tell our clients, you have to give yourself some grace, because in a divorce, there are a lot of things. There's no perfect. And there are a lot of things you have to move past and try to do better. But the beauty that we all have is that tomorrow is always another day. It doesn't matter who you are, how wealthy or how not wealthy you are. We get 24 hours and you get to reset. And I think we forget that sometimes, because a lot of times people, especially high performers, and a lot of our clients are high performers, want things to be perfect in that moment all the time. And there's this tremendous pressure, just boom. So
Absolutely. Now, let's talk a little bit about mindset and how much that plays into, mind and body wellness during, a particularly challenging time.
it plays a huge role into it, because if you haven't taken care of yourself and you've got the extreme stress, let's say contested divorce litigation, let's say it's a deposition that's happening, right? If you haven't been eating well and you haven't slept and you have a migraine headache and you're feeling terrible and emotionally you're overwhelmed, you won't be able to focus on the questions being asked or the end goal, or have your story being told in the way that you need it to reflect what the court needs to understand about you and your unique situation. Whereas you're able to receive the instruction from the attorneys better and your team of lawyers when you're present. You're able to recall things, your memory is sharper. It's all the things that we learn when we're in school or when we're growing up. Those lessons that our parents give us actually do have value even years later.
It's crazy how that works, isn't it? That they really do. Now, I'd love your opinion. What do you think is the biggest misunderstanding or misconception when it comes to overall wellness in a divorce?
It's a hard question, because in what context do you, financial wellness, physical health wellness, what kind of wellness?
Let's talk. I mean, that's a big part of it too, the financial wellness, but let's just talk like physically and mentally, just, in that overall wellness, when you're going through a divorce.
I think some people believe that you have to be drained and feel miserable and terrible to be doing well in divorce. It's not true. Some of our best clients, I think, thrive. They're the ones who have the balance and they're taking care of themselves and they're not being it's not selfish to take care of yourself. I think that's another big misconception. So I think the people that are able to embrace the advice to have balance and to set healthy boundaries and to be mindful about who you're spending your free time with, be mindful about what you're putting into your body, be mindful about when you're moving, those people. And I think that you can definitely win divorce. I love the name of your podcast. I love your
Thank you.
those because you can absolutely win divorce. And that doesn't mean that you're going to slaughter your spouse, but it means that you can win by knowing what your goals are, being purposeful, intentional, having grace, and moving forward.
Absolutely. I appreciate that. Because, yeah, but most, I think we've probably both heard a million times, no one wins in divorces, but let's maybe redefine. Maybe the definition of winning is different. And that's a big one. Like your mind and body. And, if you can stay healthy through a divorce, that's a big win as well. And, I think that what we find is our clients, when they're going through a divorce, and, I would say, particularly with children, but even not, right? You are no longer sharing, those 24 hours in a day with a person like you were, even if you were disconnected. And now you are going to have that time. What are you going to do with it? Right? Is it just going to be binge watching on TV and, pizza and beer, which, maybe you need a weekend of that, but then that's it, or just really a night. But then you are going to have this time. And if you recognize that, oh, this is the time, now if I have to have, shared custody, right? I'm not going to see my children in the same way that I did before, but that frees up some time in your day. And you could really benefit, I think, not only yourself, but your children if you use that time to walk, use that time to journal and really broaden yourself, grow yourself in that way. And I think that can, then help you manage when things are stressful and there's some emotional, things that happen.
Oh, I agree 100%. Being purposeful about your time is everything. Our time is so valuable, people forget. I think another thing that goes along with what you said is recognizing what's important and what's not, right? Because we have so many time vampires in life, whether it is someone who doesn't really have an emergency and they're making an emergency, or Netflix and chill, or like whatever, which you're right, you need that sometimes. But being mindful about the number of things you have to get done. No one can do 100 important things all at once. So prioritizing really helps with that. And that's another part of taking care of your mind, your body, and soul, because it is overwhelming if you look at a to-do list. It's like, oh, 1,000 things, oh my gosh, as opposed to, yep, there are 1,000 things broken down in tens. Here's what I can get done today. Here's what I'm going to tell this person. Here's what we can get done tomorrow. Those things help too with that emotional shift.
Yes, I agree. And I also think, for our listeners, as we're talking about, your mind and body wellness, and I'm not saying you have to go and train for a marathon, but that can be a very therapeutic thing because there's, the training programs that start at 0 miles, but there's a lot you can do, but that is really going to then clear your mind for when you have big decisions to make, because there comes that time. Here in Florida, we have mandatory mediation, but I would imagine you do a lot of mediation as well, even if it's not mandatory. And, we find that the healthier our clients are, the more, balanced they are, it is a little bit easier to make as many decisions as we are asking of them when it comes time. Do you find that?
Yeah, 100%.
And I think they also, one, I've always been a big advocate for exercising. It has relieved my stress for years. I don't run anymore or jog. I was never that fast to be a runner, but I'm a jogger, for many years. But it allowed my brain to clear. And I always sleep so much better when I have regular exercise because, you maybe play through the events or, as litigators, we run that hearing through our head again and again, or an interaction. And sometimes the only way I can let go of that is through that physical exercise to where I've exhausted the loop that's playing. And I have found in my experience, our clients have that too, because these issues are so important to them. And, they have many of them never been in quite this situation. This might be one of the most, difficult situations they've ever encountered. And, they don't want to get it wrong, right? What they said to their spouse regarding the children, or did they accidentally agree to something and now they're thinking, oh, that was a bad idea. And they can run that loop a lot in their head. And so much so they ask, we've had instances where, they're continuing to ask, what happened? What about this? Let's go back to this. And that makes it really hard, I think, for our clients to move forward in the divorce if they can't go beyond, some first decision, whether it was in court or an agreement that they made in the divorce. Have you had experience like that for your clients?
Always, because it comes from clarity. And sleep is one of those big things that helps you to get clarity. I was thinking about a client of mine who was a physician, and he was talking about studying for one of the boards. And the program that he did actually required that you spend X amount of time on studying, and the afternoon was spent skiing. This happened to be a special program abroad, right? But people think, oh, whatever, you're going to go play. But studies show that the brain capacity can only absorb so much on continued focus, right, for high performance result. And then there has to be some downtime. And he found that to be a really good approach, did very well, and it made sense. And about that, I think it applies to everything. We tell our clients that all the time, even if we're prepping for a deposition or a trial or something like that. Yes, you do have this really big stressful thing happening, but let's make sure you have a chance to clear your mind so you can be the most focused. You're not sleep deprived so that you can think clearly. I mean, we all had that moment that you describe, that, oh, phew, now I can think, or I couldn't even remember that. And then now it's all coming back. And it makes sense because you have to have the balance of the sleep, the rest, the hydration. Your body has to be good for you to be good and everything else.
Absolutely. Now let's talk a little bit about the grieving process, because divorce often involves, obviously a period of grief and loss. And most of our clients go through it at some point. Some they've they've grieved that many years ago, but yet they haven't moved forward with the divorce. But I think it exists, and we see that in most everybody. How can you navigate the grieving process in a way, would you advise for clients that supports their mental and physical health?
It's acknowledging that there is a grieving process, first of all, in divorce. A lot of times people gloss over that. The grief is that there's the death of the vision that once was, right? That marriage isn't happening. Whether you wanted it, the divorce, or your spouse, and you found out afterward, the bottom line is that original goal or that original vision is changing. So you've got to give yourself some time to get through that and process what that feels like. I mean, I've yet to meet any client who, oh, wonderful, this is so great, wonderful, I love this. And the process, it's just great. They're smiling the whole time. There's always so many considerations, So I think it's going through that. I think it's allowing yourself, there's the stages of grief. The anger, the disbelief, the rationality, the trying to, acceptance, all these things. You go through the stages, you have to give yourself grace as you go through the stages. But I always think it's important to be mindful of where you want to go. So we tell people in the beginning, where do you really want to be at the end? Where are you trying to go in the middle? What does life look like now in this different phase? And writing that down so you can refer back to it is tremendously powerful. Whether it's in a written note or it's in an iPhone note or computer, whatever it is, somewhere so that you can go back and look at it as the stages of grief are happening. And again, I think it all ties back to what we talked about at the beginning, having this village, having the things in place, having the therapists in place, having the support system in place, knowing what you do or where you go to feel good. We all have something that makes us feel happy, right? As long as it's healthy, doing that, having that space, being mindful with your time, seeing how important you are, taking care of yourself, being the best version of you so that you show up in the best way. I think that all helps with dealing with the grief of divorce. And then also the forgiveness part, like guilt that comes along with grief and divorce. We have to forgive ourselves. We forgive everybody else in life, but yet as people, a lot of times we forget to forgive ourselves or to give ourselves grace. I think it's important because you have the next day to do better, be the next better version, figure out what it is not to make the same mistakes again. Those things all help to deal with it.
I very much like that you mentioned that about forgiveness, because I think that is so powerful. And it's not only about forgiving others, but yourself, because usually we are the hardest on ourselves. And it can be harder if you feel like that was a mistake. And maybe you feel like you could have done better in the marriage, but yet it's over. So you just really have to move. And you might have done it differently if, knowing what you know now. But right, when you know better, you do better. And I think that's how you do move forward and continue to grow and recognize that you just didn't know at that time. And we're all human. We all make mistakes, but forgiveness is, very healthy way to move forward, and, grow. And particularly, I think when you share children, that sometimes is the hardest for our clients to move through that forgiveness because you will always share that child. So it's important to recognize you will have to interact even when your children are grown.
That's true because you are your children's parent until you take your last breath. Divorce doesn't change that.
No, it does not. And then you will have grandchildren and you want to be a part of their life. So that's why, one, staying healthy now, but then doing, having healthy behaviors, being able to interact and forgive so that your children do invite you back and you get to be a part of that life, right?
100%. We joke, half and half true about this thing. When you're putting certain things about your ex or your soon-to-be ex into papers or affidavit form, remember that when the case is over, this is the same person you're going to be co-parenting with. So is it really necessary to say certain personal things that don't help your case because you're upset and you want to hurt them? Think, really hard and fast about how you're managing the case. And our team reminds clients and we to litigate in a proactive, clean way as opposed to
Right. And in a way, just what you said, it's not going to make a difference in the case, which I know all our clients don't understand that many times. I know you want to say this, but the court is not going to entertain this type of questioning, these things. It is really not going to impact the decisions they have to make. And at the end of the day, if it doesn't help you move forward, and then does it just make you look bad and or create a record of, where you've put things down that, will never disappear once they're in the court filing.
And then your spouse or your ex-spouse is going to look at you every single graduation or whatnot and remember that you said the thing that was so embarrassing or horrible to them. And they're going to be less inclined to invite you to the party that they throw at the house with the grandchild. Whereas, why did if you get out of it nicely?
Yes, it's very true. It's very true. And it's hard. I know when our clients are in it, it's hard to look that far, but that's our jobs is to remind them that you have a long future ahead. Hopefully a wonderful future, with your family. And these things will matter because some things are difficult to forget. And when you act very badly in the divorce, it's harder for your spouse to forgive you.
Exactly.
Now, I'd love to go over any do's and don'ts that you have that you would love for our listeners to know when they're going through a divorce in order to stay healthy and more focused.
Do pay attention to yourself. Do listen to what your body's telling you. Do tell your legal team the whole truth. Because if we don't know, we can't actually help you. If you're working with the right advocate, their job is not to judge you. Their job is to help you achieve your objectives and they have your best interests at heart. So don't keep secrets from your lawyer that might come up in court later on in the course of a divorce. Do have a great support system. Do have a healthy outlook. Do forgive yourself and give yourself grace. Do give your soon-to-be ex some grace, which is hard for a lot of us to do, right? Don't involve the kids in adults' information and behaviors. Your children in a divorce are not your confidant. The person you're talking about is their other parent. It's an awkward, hurtful situation for them, and they don't want to upset you, and they don't want to upset the other one, so don't keep the kid in the middle. Don't air your dirty laundry online. Don't post online about your ex or your soon-to-be ex and all of their transgressions or the things that you didn't like. Don't fall into victim mentality. It doesn't help you to achieve your interests. Those are the top ones that come to my mind.
Those are really good. And the victim mentality, that's a great one. And it's, something that I certainly have struggled with on helping clients move through. But, sometimes we just try to help them recognize it because they can make the choice if they're, going to move out of that or not. But maybe sometimes they don't, I feel like, recognize that they are playing that part in this story, but they do have the option to
Mhm.
not be a victim. And I think that's important.
It's 100% a choice.
It really is. It really is. And that's something I think that when, many of our clients feel like, oh, I just don't have control or, anything that I can do in this process. And true, there are some things that are beyond your control, right? There will be decisions made, timing, things like that, but you can always control how you react and how you show up in this divorce. And, we do try to remind our clients of that because they cannot control their spouse's behavior or their exes, but they certainly can control their own.
Absolutely. And that's the same advice our team gives to our clients. You can control you. You're the only person you can control.
Mhm. And even if you even and especially with your children, I have found that, we have this belief that, oh, we are, running this tight ship or controlling, things that our children are doing. Is you really don't. You've let yourself believe that, but you're there to parent them and guide them, but they're not property and you're not the only one involved. The two of you have, created these children together, are raising them, and you're gonna have to continue and get past your differences, which is a really good reason to find a healthy outlet like exercise if you still have animosity, anger towards your ex, right? Find a healthy outlet because they're not really going to probably go anywhere.
Exactly. I agree 100%.
And really, you don't want them to. Your children need both parents and they should have them. Now, let me ask you this because you said you represent mostly men, but I would imagine, I don't know, have you represented women as well? And how is it different working with them?
We represent both men and women. It just seems, I would say, in the last maybe 5 years, more men have gravitated towards us because we are very excellent at getting custody for deserving dads. That does not mean that we're trying to rip children away from their mothers. Definitely not. But there are a lot of men who are excellent fathers, and custody is not determined by gender. So that's a big change. We have a very forward-thinking, modern approach firm. So a lot of, especially when we're dealing with same-sex families, the law is not always cut out to recognize certain nuances because the old laws say, okay, there used to be a breastfeeding doctrine that no matter what, children had to be with mom. Well, it's not the case anymore.
Right.
That's how we got there. You asked me what are the differences between representing the two?
Yes.
I think there's less differences and more similarities, to be really honest. I spent a lot of time representing a lot of great moms and a lot of great women and a lot of great dad. What is the commonality is that great parents want the best for their children. They want their children to thrive, regardless of the fact that their original ideas for family changed. Differences, I'd say, well, I'd say there are some men that because they've been predominantly the financial provider, they're of course worried about still providing for the family in the best way possible, but also being able to provide for themselves, which is a normal, natural thing. But we do have some female clients who are the primary breadwinner also, so they have a similar challenge. Um, differences. I think, oh man, I have to be very careful how I say this. But I do think that more men have guilt when they have been the ones who want the divorce and they have children. Let's say that they've moved on and they have another, they're in love with someone else. I think they have more guilt for the process than some of their female counterparts. Not all of them, but I think that happens. Or they beat themselves up a little bit more. Whereas I think more of our female clients feel a lot more pressure to have to be perfect at juggling all the roles and being all the things to compensate for the husband or ex-spouse who's left. So it gives us or them more pressure. I think they also feel more guilt when it has to do with after the divorce or during the divorce when they found a new partner who might meet their needs better. Worried they tend to be more worried about how the children will receive it. I think that's what's harder on themselves.
Mhm. Yeah, I think I agree with you on that perspective for sure. And we are nearing the end of our show. I would like to ask you if and just throughout your career, obviously you're a woman, you've worked with a lot of women. I always ask if you can impart on our listeners what you've learned about, women and their resilience throughout your career.
Oh, we are so resilient. Women are tremendously resilient, and I think that we're incredible. I think that impactful, strong women help other women and we raise each other up. There's a meme that I love that I might not say it correctly, but it's a wise woman helps fix the other woman's crown as opposed to trying to knock it off. And I think
Right.
it's true because as women, not only do we give birth, which yes, men listening to this podcast, that's a big thing. That's
Yes,
what's
it
cool.
is.
But the nurturing, the different aspects, the things, and women for such a long time in society, we were not recognized as smart enough or capable enough to work and own businesses and do all these things, and we do them well. I mean, again, trying to be careful, but I think that women are incredibly resilient, and I think that forever, from the beginning of time until the end of time, that we will be the primary ones who are, if you're not in the background, you're in the background at the forefront, because behind
Mhm.
every great man is a strong woman, right? And I believe that
Yeah, that's awesome. Now, thank you so much. That's great. Now, where, Elizabeth, can our listeners find you for more information and resources?
our website at douglaslaw.com. We're on all of the social medias. We're Douglas Family Law Group. So Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, TikTok, all the things.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for joining us today. It has just really been a pleasure speaking with you. I just wish you were a little closer than White Plains, New York. But hopefully, if you ever get down to Florida, I will get to see you. But we really enjoyed having you today. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Heather. It's been great.
Oh, wonderful. For our listeners, if you or someone you know in the Northeast Florida area is going through a divorce or is thinking about a divorce, please reach out to us at FloridaWomen'sLawGroup.com or join our Facebook group, Women Winning Divorce. We will have the links in the episode description, as well as all of the information for Elizabeth and her firm. As always, we would love your feedback and appreciate your reviews. Thank you for listening. Thank you for joining me for this episode of Women Winning Divorce. My goal is to elevate your life and the way you are thinking so that you are best equipped to win at life. If you enjoy the show, please subscribe so you automatically get my new shows every week. And I would love to hear from you personally. Come join the conversation on social and join our Facebook group, Women Winning Divorce. We welcome your comments and suggestions. We want to bring you content that helps move your life forward. Women Winning Divorce is the place for an elevated conversation on how women can thrive during times of adversity in order to live their best life.